everybody, welcome to the first ever Dear Katie Live. I'm looking at all the questions you guys asked, and there are quite a lot, so I'm probably not going to get to all of them, so just bear with me. If I didn't get to your question, hopefully we'll do this again. So, what is your advice for dancing after high school? Is majoring in dance a bad idea, and what jobs could I get? I think nowadays it's okay to go to a college program and major in dance, especially if you want to be a dancer. It used to be that you would need to get hired right out of high school to get into a company. But nowadays I think companies are taking dancers a little bit later, and that extra training could really help you. If you want to be a dancer, I would major in dance, but I would minor in something else, because your career could end tomorrow. You could have an injury, you could, something freak could happen. And so I would make sure you're still broadening your horizons and not solely focused on dance, especially if you're in college. And then, many companies do auditions at colleges. There's also Broadway. So there's pretty much anything you can do. So majoring in dance is a good idea, but I would also minor in something else. What are the best warm-up exercises to do before class? Guys, my biggest thing is don't overstretch before you take class, because you could pull something, you could rip a hamstring. Don't do your splits. Don't sit there and put your leg over your head. Make sure you're warm. I loved doing core exercises, running in place, some TheraBand exercises, a little bit of stretching, but stretching is mostly for after class, when you're warm, when it's safe. I liked to kind of get my calves going, but my biggest tip for before class is rolling out as opposed to stretching. And then someone else, how do you stretch after class? That's when you can do all your big stretches. You can do your hamstring, you can do your splits, you can put your leg over your head, but not until you're warm. I've seen too many people get injured overstretching. So be very, very careful about that. What was the hardest thing about dancing with New York City Ballet? Probably the schedule. You are constantly learning ballets, constantly performing ballets. I mean, you might rehearse 4 or 5 ballets during the day, and then that night perform 3 more that you didn't rehearse that day. And then, especially during Nutcracker season, there are 46 to 48 shows, depending on the year. And the younger corps members and apprentices have to do all of them. So it's just the schedule, it's the constant, what costume am I in today, what am I rehearsing today? It's trying to keep everything straight and just having to really dance all the time. But that's one of the great things about it too, you're never bored. What did you do to help you find your turnout? I have a really hard time finding my turnout. The thing about turnout dancers that you need to remember, you can be the most flexible person in the world, but you will not be able to turn out if you don't have the strength to hold it. So it's not just about whacking it out and doing the frog. You have to find those rotator muscles to be able to hold that flexibility. So it's about strength and flexibility combined. So you can lay on your side, put your knees and feet together, take those feet up off the floor and just do some clamshells, and that will activate those turnout muscles. And the stronger those muscles are, the easier it is going to be for you to hold your turnout. But don't forget to stretch afterwards. You don't want to tighten your hips up so much doing these exercises that then you can't turn out. So make sure you're doing both the exercises and finding those little muscles up towards your hips and then stretching them out at the same time. What was your pre-show routine? I had a very specific pre-show routine. Many of us did. For me, I always got to the theater 2 hours before curtain. That was just what I did. Typically, I was already in the building anyway from rehearsal. And then I would do my hair first. Some people do their makeup first. I did my hair first. Then I do my makeup. Then I would find the right point shoes for the evening. Then I would go downstairs, do my little mini bar. At half hour, I'd put on my shoes, make sure I was getting in them okay and that they felt good. At 15 minutes, I'd go put on my costume, and then I'd go out on stage and do some, whatever hard step I had that night or a couple turns, and then I was good to go. But I did it by the clock, like, okay, at half hour we're doing this, at 15 minutes we're doing this. I was a bit obsessive about it. Most embarrassing onstage moment. Oh my goodness, I've had a lot. Probably, there was this one ballet, it was called Peter Martin's Jeu de Cartes, meaning the card game. And I literally couldn't stay standing for that ballet. I think I fell 3 times within like 15 minutes. It's only like a 15-minute ballet. There was another time that I was doing Romeo and Juliet with Seth Orza, who is now a PNB principal. And in the very ending scene, he tripped. You know, you're playing dead, so you can't help. So he had me over his shoulder, he tripped, we fell backwards down the stairs. I remember the floor ending up in my face, and I'm playing dead, so I can't wake up and help him. So he literally has to like dead press me off the floor dead. And then Peter came back and goes, Peter Martin's the head of the company at the time. He's like, I like it, keep it. We didn't keep it, it was bad. It was bad. Things like that, falling, you know, just little things. There's all kinds of problems. What inspired you to be a dancer? Probably the music. For me, it was becoming the music. It was trying to express myself. I was a really shy kid to the point that I was that kid that just in the middle of a room would just sit there and not say anything. So ballet was an outlet for me. And I think that really helped. Ballet helped me get out of that. How can I stop being so wobbly in the center? I think dancers, I find when you're trying to do adagio, so many of us lift up so much that all of this gets tense and actually you're going to be more unstable. You need to think push and pull. Think of pressing into that floor. Your supporting leg is your anchor, and making space for that by lifting up, but don't lift so much up that then you become tense and all this happens and it's not cute. Think push down into the floor, really, really strong supporting leg, and almost think like your upper body and your lower body have to work simultaneously, but one is going down and one is going up. That way you're not all sinking or all lifting, and it should really help you be stable. You can also practice some balancing exercises. You can get a towel, fold it up, and just stand on one leg, and the towel is going to make you wobbly, and you can strengthen those leg muscles. And then close your eyes while you're standing on the towel, and actually that's really good for balance training if you're struggling. Okay, how can I keep from gripping the bar so hard? Be careful of that. If you're at the bar and you're white knuckling, you're not using your muscles. Make sure you're on the balls of your feet. The minute you get back into your heels, all your leg muscles disengage. So be on the balls of those feet and just constantly test yourself at the bar. Because unless you're doing the ballet etudes, you're not gonna have a bar on the stage. So you really have to use your bar work to prepare you for the center, to prepare you to be in whatever ballet it is. Bar work is not about looking pretty at the bar. It's about using those exercises to build your technique, build your strength, and part of that is balance, and part of that is not gripping that bar. So just make sure you're on the balls of your feet and test yourself. It's not any fun. Trust me, I had many teachers that we would have to do the combination with the hand off the bar and then repeat it with the hand, on the bar and then repeat it with the hand off the bar. And it was not particularly fun, but it's very effective. How can I land easier on my jumps? This is another good one. In teaching recently, I have seen one of two things with jumps. Number one, you guys are landing in your heels. We need to put the heels down. Don't land with your heels up, but make sure you're landing in the balls of your feet, because like I just said, the minute you go to your heel, all muscles disengage and it's really hard to get them back up off the floor. So make sure you're landing in the balls of your feet, and also use your plie. So many dancers are not using their plies properly, and they are just trying to jump on flat legs, and you're not gonna get that spring, and it's not gonna give you the power then go into the next jump. So watch your plies and really push and use those feet, use your plie, land in the balls of your feet. What are the best ways to strengthen my ankles on point? I feel like I keep getting injured because of weaker ankles. The best thing, honestly, is TheraBand. It's a great one. All your TheraBand exercises, pointing and flexing, winging and sickling, and just any exercise you can do with a TheraBand. But also balancing. The towel trick I just talked about, that's a great one. And watch how your technique is. Same thing. Are you landing in the balls of your feet? Are you using your plie? Are you able to balance on demi-pointe? Lots of releves, lots of straight leg eleves are really good for rolling through those feet. And a lot of point work is stability. So you might have the best feet in the world, but if you're wobbly, it's never going to work. So work on stability, and that comes from tendus, that comes from not forcing your turnout and rolling in on those ankles. You know, bar work again, if you're cheating at your bar work, your point work's going to suffer. So make sure you're doing everything properly and not cheating. Do those TheraBand exercises, do those balancing exercises, and do some releves, and it should get better. How can I get better at turns on point? Turning, whether you're on point or on flat, is a lot of it's in your head. If you get to your fourth position and all of a sudden you tense up and you panic, you're done. You're done. You really have to just go for it. Same thing with point. And the number one thing I see with point work is that you're not getting all the way up because you're scared, so your upper body drops. You have to make room for those feet to get all the way up on point. So really think of actually starting with your upper body. Make sure the upper body is going up enough so your foot can get up. Don't anticipate the floor. Do you know what I mean? So think of somebody has you by the waist and is actually lifting you up into that turn. I see so many dancers not actually go up in their pirouettes. And really think of strong ankle. The minute you pull back on that ankle, it's a weak position. So think ribbons. Push those ribbons, really lift up in that upper body and loose neck, and just tell yourself you can do it. Not, okay, maybe kind of sort of, I might get there. You know what I mean? Confidence. Confidence is key. Hardest costume you've had to dance with? Ooh, probably a tutu that was too tight. Have you ever had that problem when the bodice is so tight you can't get your arabesque leg up, you can't move, you can't breathe? I've had some big cumbersome skirts that get in the way. I can't really think of a bad costume to dance in, but probably ones that are just the bodices are so stiff that you literally feel like you can't move. You probably have all had that problem. Favorite costume you've ever worn on stage? Any of my Aurora tutus. Those Sleeping Beauty tutus are so beautiful. They are just bedazzled and jeweled, and you know, you get to wear 3 of them. So that's really fun. What has been your favorite role? And a lot of you said, what is your favorite performance? Juliet. Juliet was my favorite role. I think it was my best role. It's also my favorite memory. Some of you asked what's my favorite memory. So that's one. All right. Who is your original dance idol? I had a lot. I loved a lot of the balancing ballerinas of Darcy Kistler, Wendy Whalen, and Jennifer Ringer. But I also loved Alessandra Ferri, Darcy Bussell, Julie Kent, you know, all of those classic dancers. Okay. Is it ever too late to start learning point? I don't think it's too late. However, I would not, dancers, I would not put yourself on point. You need a teacher supervision. You need to make sure your technique is strong. Don't just decide one day, you know what, I really think I want to go on point. You could really hurt yourself if you did it the wrong way. So even if you're an adult, I have seen adults go on point, make sure you have a teacher's supervision. It's so important. I've seen too many injuries. So as long as you're working with someone, I think it's fine, but I wouldn't put yourself on point. Okay, a couple more questions. Do you have any tips for nice fluid port-a-bras? Sometimes things get a little too textbook and I don't move nicely. I think if you want a fluid port-a-bras, you need to use your back more. I see too many kind of arms placed here and you're not thinking of engaging your whole core. when you use your back muscles, it's like Swan Lake. You can't just do this for Swan Lake. You have to use your back muscles. And think of moving through water. It never stops. Even if you have to do classical port de bras, don't think of just setting them there. You have to keep it moving, circular, left to go right, and really use your back muscles. Don't just kind of stick your arms out there. You guys ask great questions. This is great. How many sugar plum tutus does New York City Ballet have? That's a great question. When I was there, I can't remember exactly. I think there were maybe 7 or 8 or 9. And there were probably 15 of us that do sugar plum. We did have to share. I shared with Abby Stafford. There was somebody else that I shared with. It might have been Jennifer Ringer. I can't remember. But we do share tutus. This year, I think City Ballet had like 21 sugar plums. So, you know, with only 8 tutus, you have to share. That's a great question. Okay. Do you think it's necessary to move away to a big ballet school to be a professional dancer? If so, when is the ideal time? I think a lot of dancers get caught up in the alphabet soup game of schools, SAB and ABT and PNB and all that stuff. I think as long as you're getting solid training as a dancer and you feel you're improving, you feel you're being challenged, there's no need necessarily to go away to a big school or feel like you have to. But what do I mean by that? Good training is 5 to 6 days a week minimum with a couple hours a day. Make sure you're getting technique every day. Dancers, make sure you're getting point 4 to 5 times a week, not just 15 minutes at the end of every class. Your point shoes need to feel like they are part of you and not foreign objects. And other classes too, if you can, contemporary or jazz is good. But I would say if you feel like you're improving and you're getting solid, good technique training in a serious environment where you have to wear uniforms, you have to, you know, it's not just a free-for-all, then there's really no need to feel like you have to go to a big school. However, if you do want to go to a big school, I would say 15 or 16 is a great age to go. Don't go too early. Here's a little tip. If you go, let's say at 13 or even 14 to a big ballet school, SAB, ABT, whomever, by the time you get to 18, you're not the shiny new toy anymore. They're all new crop of kids coming in every year. And you don't want to go too early because they could, maybe not, they could not get tired of you but not be as excited about you as the new kids. So I would say 15 minimum. I was 16 when I went away to SAB. I turned 16 that summer and I stayed for the year. And that was a perfect age. I did 2 years at the school and I was happy. But the one school you do have to go to in order to get into the company is SAB. If you want to be in the New York City Ballet, they only take from their school. So make sure if you want to go and be in that company, you have to go to SAB. But every other company, I wouldn't make it a dire, like, have to be their thing if you feel like you're getting training. However, if you think you're the best in your class and there's nobody challenging you and you, without a doubt, are hands down the favorite, I would maybe look elsewhere because you need to be pushed, you need to be challenged, and have somebody next to you at the bar that you're kind of worried about that make you work harder. That's also really important. Okay, last question. How do you find motivation to keep dancing when you feel like giving up? We all have those days. Don't think you're alone if you are getting frustrated. You have to remember why you started dancing in the first place. Because dancers, if you do want to do this professionally, it is a glorious career. It is one of the best careers you can have, but it is incredibly difficult. You have to find motivation from somewhere. When it's your 8th show of the week and your feet hurt and you've been in rehearsal all day long, or you've been 6 hours in the back of the room being the understudy, because you have to start as an understudy. Everybody does it. So it's not just about the onstage time. So you have to find your motivation from somewhere. For me, it was remembering why I started dancing in the first place. It was that 4-year-old kid who wanted to be a ballerina. I had an L problem, ballerina, more than anything in the world, and that was my motivation. was why I started in the first place. So wherever you can find it, if it's the music, if it's the movement, you know, find your motivation, and that will help you through the hard days. So thank you guys. You asked amazing questions. I would love to do this again. Again, I didn't get to everybody's question, but there were a lot. So I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.